I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Fab Mackojc. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night? Well, it's night in my time.
Yeah, it's afternoon here in Australia, but it's a lovely day outside, so I can absolutely agree with you there. It's a great day.
That's wonderful. Hey, well, Fab, please do tell us which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. So my understanding is that you wanted to speak to me because I am a podcaster. I have been podcasting now for close to 2 years. Yeah, I run a podcast called The Journey, where I speak to people early in their careers, probably people under the age of 35 who have unconventional career paths. So something that is a little bit different to the norm. People have done something other than going to university and getting a corporate job. People who are artists, authors, entrepreneurs, adventure sport athletes, you name it. I speak to them and I get a sense of, how they got to where they are today and why they do what they do.
Oh, how wonderful is that? Are you under 35 as well?
I am indeed. Yeah, I'm only 26. So
Wow.
a lot of this stuff is topical for I guess myself and my generation.
Oh, makes sense. Makes sense that you would do this. Tell us the name of your podcast.
The Journey with Fab Mackojc. I'm sure if people look up The Journey and my name or The Journey and Fab, they'll find it on most podcast apps.
Pretty amazing stuff there. Ooh, pretty amazing stuff. So, where did the inspiration come for naming this The Journey? It being for under 35-year-olds that you've interviewed.
Yeah, the name itself is, I guess, just related to the fact that all of us are on a journey in life, and I think everyone's journey has something to share. One of the important things with the show is, it's not about people getting advice, about what the right way to live is. I think everyone has their own way of doing that, and everyone has their story and what has worked for them and how they've gone about it. And I just think it's an inspiration for everyone to just realize that in this time, there's no better time to be able to, find a life that suits your interests and your personality. And, I share the stories of people who have done that. So that's, at least me in my life has been quite unconventional. And I've been fortunate to have a path that is different to most people. And I just wanted to connect with other people who had the same and to be able to convince other people that's absolutely something you can do. There's no means to have to, just do what everyone else does and go about a 9 to 5 and work a career. If you want to do that and that's for you, that's great. But it's not for everyone.
So who did you learn that from? That skill of, what do we call that skill? It is insightful, yes, but it is also, 1 second.
Yeah, it's a mindset shift of sorts. This willingness to this willingness, I suppose, in a sense, not to conform. I think the earliest inspiration I can point to is a book by Tim Ferriss called The 4-Hour Work Week. That was definitely the first point in my life where I was at the end of my university degree. I was studied mathematics, and I was doing an internship at one of the big 4 accounting firms. I was there. I remember getting sent to a project where we basically spent all day locked up in a room with no windows, just punching lines into Excel, just debits and credits. And it was so boring, and I just, I felt almost like a trained monkey of sorts. And I happened to be reading that book at that particular time, and it just sort of opened my eyes to this idea that there's definitely a life of prosperity you can have without going down the traditional 9 to 5 route. And up until that, I hadn't really considered that. And so that book kind of set me on the journey that I've been on.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Listening is one of your skills too, right? Because you're listening while you're reading, and then you're putting things into action, which is pretty intriguing.
Yeah, absolutely. That a lot of what the podcasting is and what I do is listening to other people. Most of what I do really is just shut up and listen and let the guests sort of share their own insight into the world. And like you said, reading is a lot of that as well. It's being able to sit back, be open-minded, and absorb the knowledge that's coming at you.
Now you're doing very well. You've actually released your episode 68, and your podcast is like an hour long average. You just had Josh Quigley on, right? Am I pronouncing his last name
That's right.
correctly?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that is right. I did
Wow.
just speak to Josh. Yeah.
Amazing conversation. Like, I went to Facebook immediately after, added him, and just asked him if he would jump across to have a 12-minute conversation, because what you brought, wow, you brought an amazing conversation to the world right there, I think.
Absolutely. No, Josh has an incredible story. I don't want to spoil it too much for people that haven't listened to it yet. But yeah, he's a suicide survivor, and so he has an incredible. And so I'd encourage everyone to listen to that interview, or to find him anywhere else, because absolutely, it's just a privilege to be able to find people like him who have such a unique perspective on the world, and to be able to bring that story to light, and to get a better sense of what he's learned that perhaps I haven't come across yet in my in my life.
You've definitely passed the statistic of failing and stopping, right? Doing the podcast. Why will you continue?
Yeah, so it's funny. I think you're absolutely right. I've reached a point where I just need to keep going. I've gotten over that initial hump. I think that even if I don't continue with this particular project forever, I certainly will continue going down that route of podcasting and storytelling in the form of audio and stuff. For me personally, I feel like it suits my skill set really well. I feel like I'm pretty good conversationally. I'm a much better speaker than I am a writer, so it's nice to be able to talk, I guess, for a living, opposed to having to write. And it's just really enjoyable. It's a lot of fun. I think that the power to create things and to have other people consume what you create is just so rewarding. I think that in the world we live in today, like, there is, unfortunately, there's a lot of junk out there. And I guess when it's, everything's subjective, but to feel like you're making something of a good quality bar that people are enjoying and tell you that they enjoy and listen to on a regular basis, that's really rewarding. And I think that it can get addictive sometimes as well.
Yeah, well, it's a good addiction, I believe. Yeah, it's one of the addictions I would choose over so many other addictions.
Yeah, there's definitely worse things you could do than make stuff for a living. That's for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. I see it as an image where you have soapy water in a bottle, or you had something that was soapy in a bottle and you're attempting to wash it out. So you fill it up and then you shake it and then you throw it out, but then you still see the residue of the bubbles that are in there. One of the best ways is to just put it under the water, the running water. Just let the water run in, and eventually the bubbles come out and you have clean water. I think it's like that. It's that element that I'm saying we, you could tell me if it's not you, but that we are attempting to achieve here by putting great content into that soapy bottle, if you would.
So in that analogy, you think that you and I, or the content creators in general, are the clean running water in what is otherwise a soapy and bubbly world of grime.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's interesting. I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I think there's also importance to have a little bit of humility as well. I think that, like, when I look at this in the grand scheme of things, I get to talk to interesting people, and we get to have great conversations, and some people get a lot out of it. But I also feel like, on that grand scheme of things, like, what I do is it's still pretty small to what other people do. Like, I don't mean by any means to raise myself on a pedestal and go about saying that I'm doing the great work. I feel proud of what I do and I enjoy doing it, but I mostly do it because I enjoy it. I definitely think there's some benefit for people to get out of it, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't think that was the case. Like, I still strongly believe in that mission of empowering people to be able to live a life that suits their, interest and personality. But I also stop and remind myself that sometimes, it's just about having interesting conversations with other people, and sometimes even just that's enough.
Yeah. I think even too, with the application of humility, I think sometimes I'm the soapy bottle.
I mean, I think we're all soapy bottles, I think we're all responsible for that. That's why I think, I don't know if I could take that much credit for making the world a better place. I think that, it's, if that is the case, I'm doing it a very, very small amount. Maybe I'm a few drops of clean water in what is otherwise a soapy bottle.
Love it. Keep bringing the water. Well, Fab, we've definitely blown past. Ooh, like I got a bubble talk right there. Blown past, right? So we've definitely blown past our first and second segment. Let's switch gears for a moment now. Sure. But before we do that, tell people where they can go to connect with you. Where's the best place?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my website is fabsays.com. So like Simon says, Fab says, you'll find the podcast there, fabsays.com/podcast. People are more than welcome to reach out to me on Twitter as well. I'm also Fab Says. My name is a pretty unique one. If you're listening to this podcast, you'll probably see my name come up in the display. You could probably type my name, find me on almost any social network, and just send me a message and say hello.
Sweet. So let's switch gears. Let me now invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Fab, what is your earliest childhood memory?
Yeah, I was thinking about this recently because I saw your questions. I have this childhood memory, which is somewhat strange, but when I was little, when I was a few years old, my family and we moved to Vietnam, and it was because of Dad's work. We were working there. He was working there, and I remember being invited to someone's house. This is my first memory, at least the one that I believe is first. I remember being invited to someone's house and being offered something, like it was chocolate, or it was maybe it was chocolate with nuts or something in it, and I remember not wanting it. I said no, and they put it in the fridge. And I remember while everyone else went away, like I snuck into the fridge and I took it and I ate it, and it was terrible. And I remember just being really disgusted. And it's very strange and random, but as far as I know, that is my earliest childhood memory.
Wow. So did you say how old you were? My apologies. Did you say how old you were? No?
I'm not certain on this, but I think I may have been like 3 years old, maybe. There 3 or 4.
Why do you think this memory is so clear?
Probably because of the disappointing reaction I had to whatever it was I ate. I remember it not tasting pretty good. I think that's probably why that sticks out in my mind. Just the expectation of what it was. And I think at the time as well, it's probably a little bit frightening to like go into someone's fridge and take something out without asking for permission, kind of doing that in secrecy maybe.
Yeah, that's intriguing. Well, can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Sure, no, absolutely. This is a chance for someone else to think what they figured out.
Yeah, I love the idea of what is portrayed in your decision-making process. So it's fascinating to see when all of the social strains, if you would, were there, that you decided that no, I wouldn't partake of this right now, that I will take this taste of this thing when I was well ready to. So you took it and it went to the fridge, and then when you were ready, you partook of that, right? Whichever it is, partook of that. But it's just intriguing to see that even with what you did with the 4-hour work week and reading that, and that you were in the workplace, and then you made that decision again, I'm not going to be the person that's doing this, but after that, now the business, that the value that's coming from your decision making, it's just intriguing how the both connect, where the decision making aspect of what you do is your strength. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that's funny. I've never thought of it like that before. I've never thought of memory like that before. It's really interesting to see you make that connection. Yeah, I totally get it. I can agree with you there. I sort of even when the crowd all says that something is the right thing to be doing and people are jumping on something, I sort of need to convince myself of that. Yeah. And that's a cool parallel.
Yeah. And we could just go like one step further to say as well, it's intriguing that your insight actually helped you not be embarrassed in front of so many others, right? Because if you had to taste that in front of everyone, your reaction would have been in front of everyone, which is cool, but it's just like it's like you had a sixth sense, if you would, that all right, I'm not going to do that right now. So I could do it later, but I'm not going to do that right now. That is intriguing. If we fast forward, I could go on. If we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
Yeah, I also had some I think about as well, because I was curious what it was. It was a song by a band called 3 Doors Down called Here Without You. And I still really like that song. Yeah. I was listening to it earlier.
Yeah, me too. I love that song. That song is emotional. Ooh. I mean, just to connect dots though, like you were definitely in the fridge here without you, right? With everyone else, right? It's like
I think you're stretching the connections a little bit.
As long as it doesn't break. Well, Fab, we have now arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's
Fab,
do it.
have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
No, not yet.
Are you married?
No, but hopefully one day.
Do you have children?
Again, no, but hopefully one day.
Do you believe in God?
No, but I'm open-minded.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No, thankfully not.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So, yeah.
What about screen time, the phone and the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's more than 8 just because the work I do puts me in front of a computer, but I would love to be able to live a life less than 8.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Well, Fab, this has been a great pleasure. There's one thing I usually talk about too. Like, there's a workbook I created. It's called Yours. It stands for Your Own Unique Real Self. And connected to that is the idea you answer those questions to reveal, if you would, your own unique real statement. I'd like to know if you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Fab Mackojc. What would you say that is?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. I think there are probably a lot of different things I could say. But I think a statement that I strongly believe in and is reflected in everything I do is everyone needs to decide for themselves what's the best way to live. And it's kind of meta, right? Because obviously this unique real statement is kind of generated from that belief. And I think that for me, it's about just going out there and constantly discovering who I am and my place in the world and learning more about the world and how I fit in, and also being open-minded to how other people are choosing to live. Other people, what works for you is going to be different for works for other people. Like those yes and no questions I just answered, different people have different answers and will react differently to certain ones, and that's okay. Everyone needs to figure out for themselves what that is. So yeah, that's probably what I would say.
A boomerang, it comes full circle to the decision, right? Just like that little boy who made the decision not to have the chocolate immediately. Fab, this has been a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Yeah, I think that this is sort of related, I guess, a lot to what I just said earlier and what you've been speaking about. I just would encourage people to be really conscious with how they live their lives. I don't think that needs too much explanation. It's just, in this world that we live in today, I think it's so easy to get wrapped up in following the crowd, consuming all this content that's available on our smartphones. And I just think it's so important for us to be very deliberate about things, to say, like, this is who I am, this is how I work, this is how I live, this is what makes me happy, and that is how I'm going to spend my days on this earth. So yeah, be deliberate about how you choose to live.
Love it. Well, Fab, you represent hope. So keep being and giving hope. Fab Mackojc, thank you, my friend, for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Hey, Angel, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to everyone who listened to this as well. It means a lot. So, I to you the same, my friend. Keep up the good work.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.